Welcome to Athletes Beyond the Game, the community that helps athletes transition to life beyond sports. I'm Julia.
And I'm Sara.
And each episode, we'll dive into athlete stories and get real about the challenges of navigating life post-athletic retirement. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Athletes Beyond the Game. We are joined today by Emma Spence. She is a former Division I gymnast from the University of Nebraska. She was also a member of the Canadian national team, where she was a two-time Olympic alternate for Team Canada in both the Paris Olympics in 2024 and the Tokyo Olympics in 2021. We go through what it was like coming to the US for, college and being a gymnast in the COVID era, as well as, what it felt like being an alternate in both the 2021 and 2024 Olympics, and how she overcame that while also competing for the University of Nebraska. Additionally, we go into some body image discussions and what that's like for a gymnast, and how the relationship with body image shows up in not only athletics but after one retires. So Emma was super vulnerable within the episode, and we are super grateful that she was willing to come on and share her story about being a gymnast and the culture around being on a gymnastics team. So we hope you guys enjoyed the episode. As always, we have gotten so many forms with you guys, telling us your story, which we are so grateful for. If you would like to be featured on the podcast, again, we have our website that you can fill out a form. If you want it to be anonymous, you can always provide your name. We are available on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. If you want to find us, shoot us a message. Thank you everybody for following us and liking and subscribing. We love the community that we've built here, and we look forward to continuing to build it. So we hope you enjoy the episode. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it, and we love talking to gymnasts. We've had a few on before, and I feel like you guys are one of the most talented types of athletes. So Aaron and I get super excited when we have one of you guys on. So thanks for joining us.
We want to start off by just telling the listeners where you're from, where you currently live, and then just kind of like a little background of how you got into gymnastics.
Yeah, so I am from a city called Cambridge, and that is in Ontario, Canada. I grew up there, spent 18 years of my life there. Then for college, I moved to Lincoln, Nebraska. I committed to the university on a full ride gymnastics scholarship. I spent the last 4 years of my career there, and I just graduated and retired in May of 2025. And now I'm still living here in Lincoln, Nebraska. I got an extension of my student visa, so I'm working here and taking advantage of that for the next year. And then, kind of going from there. I was also on the gymnastics team for Team Canada, so I was on the national team for 8 years. And then, 4 years here of NCAA. I did do Team Canada stuff at the same time for a couple years of my NCAA career, which was kind of an interesting path and not something that many people really do. But
we'll get into that. We'll definitely get into that. In gymnastics, what is your specialty, if that's the correct terminology?
Yeah, I would say, well, it really depended on the meet. Honestly, I feel like my best event was probably all around, which is all of them combined together, because I didn't really have a standout event. Sometimes, if I had to pick one, probably bars, but it wasn't always bars, so overall, it was probably all of them combined that I had the best, I guess, scores and results in, which is kind of interesting. But I didn't have a specific standout one most of the
Is
time.
there one that you enjoyed performing better than the others, or kind of was day to day depending on what you were feeling that day?
I definitely love training bars, but I loved competing floor. Competing bars was a little stressful, but like the performance side of floor was really fun, especially with the music and you get the
Yeah,
crowd involved and everything, and it was good.
right. That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I have to ask too, because moving from, you said Cambridge, correct,
Mhm.
where you grew up, to uh, University of Nebraska, and I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Kansas City, so not Nebraska, but similar kind of area. What was that transition like? Like, was it a big change moving from where you grew up to there, or was it seamless, or what was that experience?
It definitely wasn't seamless. This was all during COVID, so I actually
The
didn't
best
even get
time.
to visit. I literally
Wow.
just moved to Nebraska without ever being there before and not really
Okay.
knowing much about it at all. Like the coaches reached out and I was like, yeah, it looks really cool. I'll do it. And I didn't really know much about NCAA. I didn't know much about Nebraska. Now I can confidently say it was a good choice. But in the moment, I just moved to Nebraska.
Wow.
So there was COVID that was still happening. I couldn't really spend much time outside doing things because it was still kind of restricted.
Right.
I got pretty close with my teammates quick. Those were like the main groups of people I guess I was able to spend time with. But there were definitely changes. Like the food was a little bit different, not that different. The biggest thing, honestly, was like driving around and not knowing what the buildings were. So, for example, like the grocery store names or the store names, like I didn't know if it was a restaurant, a clothing store, a bookstore, because I just never heard of like a lot of the brands and like companies that they have here.
So
So that was
interesting.
probably the biggest
Fun.
adjustment. And like my friends talking about going to, I don't know, Barnes and Nobles, and I was like, is that like groceries? Like I
Like,
just
what
didn't
is that?
know a lot of them for a while.
Right. I have a
Yeah.
question. Obviously, I mean, now there's so many Canadian athletes and just students in, university and college. Going to like Division 1, a natural path, at least in your experience coming from Canada, or was it kind of like, oh, still a little bit rare?
I think it depends what your goals are. Like there's some gymnasts that do other divisions. I honestly didn't know much about NCAA at all. Like I was like, yeah, that looks good, I'll do it. But yeah, we also don't have NCAA gymnastics in Canada, which is why I ended up having to come to the US. Like
Hmm.
they do have some sports. They have it kind of, it's kind of different, but it's still like considered NCAA. But gymnastics is not one of the sports there, which is why I had to come to the US if that's something I wanted to do.
Got it.
Okay, cool. So then, at what point in your gymnastics career did you kind of like think to yourself, okay, I can do this. Like, I can, compete at a high level. Like, you kind of maybe realize your potential.
I think so for a long time I was more just doing it because it was fun. Honestly, like didn't really
Good
have
reason.
like specific goals, and honestly I would watch some of the older girls do their like skills and routines and I was like that looks so scary, I never want to do that. Like I was just kind of like doing it because I enjoyed it, my sisters did
Yeah.
it too, and it was just like something my family was doing.
Hmm.
But I'd say I got pretty serious in it probably when I reached like the national level, so I was like about 11 I think, and then I
Hmm.
made the national team when I was like 13, 14 years old. So by the time like I made national team, then I started competing internationally for Canada. And then
Hmm.
once I started like really representing the country and getting to travel, meet all the international athletes, wear all the Canada gear, like that's when I was like, okay, this is really cool. This is something I want to keep doing and see
Yeah.
how far I can go.
Right. That's
Wow.
cool. That makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that because I think that when I see gymnasts, like that looks so scary. Like everything
Like
that they're doing.
I'm actually scared.
Yeah, like I'm nervous for you. But that's interesting that you like as a gymnast still kind of had those thoughts and we'll
We'll
get
get
into
into
it a
that.
little bit later.
You mentioned you just graduated. You're only 22, right?
Yeah.
You've represented Canada at the 2022 World Championships, and you are two-time alternate on the Olympic team. So, like, I know gymnasts, and you kind of got into it earlier, but like gymnasts, maybe track and field and swimming, it might be normal to have some current college athletes on the team. But how does that work in terms of competing for a college, but you're also representing your country, on a national stage?
Yeah, it was very different, especially because that's not something that I'd say Gymnastics Canada was really used to or
Hmm.
like had previous experience with. So the qualification process, for example, for the Olympics was a little bit different because I wasn't able to go attend all the Canadian meets during my NCAA season because my priority at the time was NCAA. They did want me to change that and try and defer, but I was like, it just didn't make sense for me to defer a year of like school and training here with the team just to focus on the Olympics. So that's why I ended up deciding to do both. I ended up having kind of a harder, I guess, ending of my career back in Canada, just like in kind of a toxic gymnastics culture for a little bit, which impacted my mental health and the way that my relationship with the sport overall.
Hmm.
And after I didn't make the Olympics the first time, after like I was named the alternate, I thought I was going to be done with competing for Team Canada, and I was just going to do 4 years of NCAA and be done. But
Because in
being here,
2020 you must have been 18, 17, 18.
yes,
So were
yes, and
you
then
at Nebraska at that point, or you hadn't even gotten there yet?
no, so I came to Nebraska in 2021, and then the Olympics ended up getting deferred to
Right.
2021.
Okay, so you
It was like the year, it was like a couple months right before coming to Nebraska. So by the time I moved here, I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm just going to focus on the next 4 years here and be done. But the coaches here and the environments and everything was just so great for me. And I really found my love and passion for the sport again. And then because of that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go try one more elite Canada, like Canadian competition, see what comes out of it. And it ended up being like one of the best ones I've ever done, which qualified me to bigger competitions. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll just do one more competition representing Canada. Like
one more,
just one more.
one
And I
more.
kept saying like just one more, just one more. And then that was the 2022 Commonwealth Games in England, and it was literally to this day the best competition I've ever had.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, I was like, best experience ever, had the best performance, I was in the best mindset, and I do give a lot of credit to that to my experience here at Nebraska and the coaches and the team and support system that I had. But then because of that experience, I just kept going. And then that's how I ended up qualifying to the World Championships. There were some bumps in the road. I ended up having to miss qualifiers because I had mono and strep. It was like a whole thing. But I ended up still making the team last minute. I was the alternate. Someone got hurt. I got put in. Worlds was really good. And then once Worlds happened, we made history for Canada, qualified the team for the Olympics. Then I was like, okay, I was part of the team that qualified to the Olympics, like qualified a team to Paris. Like I'm gonna go all in on this. And yeah, that's why I ended up doing that.
So you had mentioned the like, kind of toxic culture uh, in Canada before you went to college, and then it sounds like it was a very different experience at Nebraska. Can you kind of talk about what the difference was, and then how that maybe like impacted your mentality? It sounded like for a positive.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I feel like the elite culture in itself is just a lot more strict and serious. There's just a lot, it's just not, it's more competitive. I don't really know how to word it. It's definitely a lot more competitive, and just the mentality behind it is just a lot more strict overall. I don't really know why it's like that. I think it just goes back to like how it used to be, but that's definitely changed over the last few years. I've definitely noticed that, but it's also very individual. Even if you're competing, for example, on Team Canada, you're still those are still your competitors. So even though you were still on the same team as them, it was still a little bit cutthroat, and you couldn't fully like let your guard down in most situations. Like I had some girls that I was pretty close with, but and they helped me a lot throughout that journey, but at the end of the day, we were also each other's biggest competitors.
Right. I think
But then
it's
when I come
similar in tennis too. It's
Yeah,
similar.
yeah, I could see that. And then when I came to Nebraska, it was a lot more team focused. So all of the ups and downs I was going through, the trainings, the hard workouts, the early lifts, all of that I was going through with my teammates, which made it a lot more enjoyable, and just I felt a lot less like isolated and alone during that process because I had a group of 20 other girls going through the same thing.
Hmm.
And because of that, we were able to cheer each other on. And then just the atmosphere of NCAA gymnastics is so much more fun. There's a lot more, I guess, television stuff related to it, and media and celebrations. And just all of those things also make it just a much better atmosphere to be in, to watch, and to also compete in. So I think being part of that really helped change the way that I saw, I guess, competing and just doing the sport in general. And then I was able to bring those experiences with me when I returned to compete in Canada the following year. And that was like the biggest thing. Even on the international stage, people don't really celebrate after their routines or
Right. Yeah.
look
Yeah.
super happy, but like
No.
Yeah.
even the
All
commentators
business. Yeah.
were just making comments about like she looks so happy, she's enjoying herself, she's celebrating, like because that's not something that they really did.
Right.
And once again, I do think it is changing. It's definitely getting a lot
Yeah.
better from that side of things, but like a couple years ago when I was doing that, it wasn't something common at all.
Was
That's really
there
interesting.
anything that you, and I don't know if there's an answer to this, but is there anything that you kind of did moving into Nebraska that kind of helped you change that mindset? I know you mentioned obviously like with the people around you and the environment, that in and of itself helped you. But was there anything that you tried to do like as you were going into Nebraska that kind of propelled that, or not really?
I would say a lot of it was just because of the environment that I was in.
Hmm.
When I was in Canada, there was just so many things that were happening, and then like coming off of just not making the Olympics, like I was just not in a good headspace. And then yeah, like the toxic culture, there were like abusive coaches, there was just like a lot of problems in the environment that I was in that I came here and I honestly I told my coaches, I was like, I don't like gymnastics. Like I
Yeah.
was like, I want to learn how to enjoy it again, but I'm
Yeah.
not in that kind of space right now. So
Right.
they really, I was like very brutally honest with them about it at the beginning,
Yeah.
but they were
Yeah.
able to really help navigate that and then also provide me with the resources that I needed. And then I feel like being in that environment with other girls and just like embracing the journey with those other girls was really helpful. But I definitely leaned on a lot of other resources here, like sports psychology, help from nutritionists, and just like having like serious conversations about how I felt with my coaches really helped all of us like be on the same page and know how to go about things in a way that was like really going to help me be at my best when I needed to.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I
Yeah.
haven't heard anybody speak negatively about Nebraska, going to Nebraska. Just kind of put that out there. And I know a lot of athletes in a lot of different sports. So
Yeah. And
it's
I
good
mean,
to
that's
hear.
so important too. Like you mentioned, having that community around you, whether it's your teammates or the resources and coaches. So that's great that you had like that support system that really can make a huge difference.
So you mentioned like there was different teams, like when you made like the world team was different than the Olympic team. How do you actually make the team? Is there like a tryout or what's the process like?
Yeah, so the World Championship team was basically just based off of the girls that qualified that year, and that was in 2022. So they had like a world trials, but then it was also based on like previous results in the like 2022 season. And like I mentioned, I ended up getting pretty sick right before world trials. I wasn't able to fly, didn't end up making it. I like petitioned and was named a non-traveling alternate. But last minute, one of the girls got injured, so they put me in the team. That's how I ended up going. So that team was basically based on the results of the 2022 season slash world trials. So that was 2 years in advance of the Olympics, which is kind of why the team ended up changing. So in some cases, some of the girls that were on the Olympic team weren't even old enough to qualify for the World Championships 2 years in advance. So, which is kind of frustrating, not gonna lie, because it was like I was part of the team that got them there, but
Right, I
I
should
wasn't the
be
team
able
that
to,
was there.
yeah.
And there was only one of the girls that competed on that World Championship team competed at the Olympics. So there were four of us that were part of the team that qualified but didn't end up competing at the Olympics. So that experience was a lot. It was kind of sad, but like
And
that's
you
how
do
it
the
goes.
and you do the qualifications 2 years before the Olympic Games.
So this was weird. So we got third at the World Championships, and Canada's never been top three ever. So by being top three at the World Championships 2 years in advance of the Olympics, you automatically qualify. So those top three teams qualified 2 years in advance, and then the rest of the teams qualified at the 2023 World
Seems
Championships.
crazy to me. Like
Yeah,
that's so
Yeah.
many years, like so
but we
much time.
qualified a team, but we didn't qualify like the specific people on the
Got
team. And
it.
then it was the
Okay.
2024 Olympic trials, which is where the team was like selected.
Crazy. Like it seems like if you qualify as like a country, it should be the
Yeah.
team that qualified you to get there. But again, like if you're doing it 2 years
Hmm.
before, then like what?
Yeah. I had no
So many
idea
things
that
could
how that
happen in
worked.
2 years.
Yeah, so it qualified like the spot for the country,
Right.
but it didn't really like
Interesting.
decide who made it because everyone had to requalify, and like one of the girls was injured, so she wasn't even able to go to Olympic trials or like do all the events and stuff. So it really just depended on, I guess, yeah, how trials went, whether you qualified the team or not.
Okay. So then just to clarify, as an alternate, are you traveling with the Olympic team or no?
We're not.
No. Okay.
Well, it depends on the type of alternate. So, unfortunately, both times I was the non-traveling alternate. So, that was honestly a very difficult position to be in because I still had to attend all of the camps. I had to compete at the camps when the other girls, like the whole Olympic team and then the three alternates, we all competed together. We had to prove that we were ready to go in case someone got hurt. So I was training with them, doing all the activities with them, prepping with them, and then they all left and I stayed behind.
What
And
the
that
heck?
what was yeah,
How can
that's
you
what was
be, how is that, how can you be a non-traveling alternate? Like, what does
Yeah,
that
they didn't
even
fly
mean?
you over?
What does that
Like you
in
mean?
just be
case
ready?
yeah, I had to be ready. And like the first time
Whoa.
around, I had to give feedback after how it went and I told them like that was very difficult. So like the
Yeah.
second time was maybe a little bit better because there were meetings where like they would discuss things they were going to be doing in Paris. And I was like, I really like for my own mental health, like I really don't think I should be sitting in on this. Like that's just going to be
Yeah.
too hard for me. So they let me skip out on that kind of stuff. But the first time around, I was sitting in, listening, talking about all the things they're going to be doing. And then it was like, okay, bye. But then I
So,
still had to send videos to prove I was ready in case someone got hurt. And they had to send me over.
so do they travel with two alternates? Is that right?
Hmm.
Okay. I just assumed, I
Yeah.
would never even assume that
Yeah.
there was an alternate sitting at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like the first Olympics, or like
What the
the
hell?
2021 Olympics,
As a
I was the
17-year-old?
second, yeah, I
18?
was the second alternate, but because of COVID, they only sent one. So I was the second alternate there. But
Oh.
then for the last Olympics in 2024, I was the third alternate and they sent two.
And is there two at-home alternates, or there's just
No,
one? So
it
you're
was
the
just me.
so both
Yeah.
times, so you had nobody to be like going through the process with. It was just
The first time I had like other girls because they only sent one. They ended up having four
okay.
alternates, so three of
Got
us
it.
stayed
Okay.
home. But then the the last Olympics, I was the only one. And that was a crazy process because there was actually three of us alternates and they originally said they were only going to send one and then they last minute decided to send two and it was just like an emotional roller coaster and yeah, that was tough. Not going to lie. I was down bad after
Well,
that
how
last
how
summer.
did you deal with that? Because there's probably so many athletes who are like in a not that maybe that same situation, but are in similar situations and like all your friends are, somewhere else and you're maybe the only one or one of two that are not. So like how did you
Hmm.
And
deal with
and doing
that?
all the competitions and
Yeah.
training.
And
Well,
you were on the
yeah.
team to get them there.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then even like some of the competitions like like the prep camps, I was beating some of the girls on the
Right.
team.
Yeah.
But they was still like, no, like the team selected even though if you perform better at like one of the camps, like it doesn't matter. So honestly,
She's
I
Emma's like,
I
I
was
don't know.
pretty sad. Like I probably didn't cope with it the best at first, and especially okay, so I feel like most people probably would have retired after that. But I had another year here at Nebraska left. So I couldn't just quit. I had to get it together eventually and compete my senior year. But I was sad. I would say I didn't even try and fight it. I just let it happen. I just let myself feel all the feels that I needed to be in for probably a couple weeks, probably about a month. And then I came back to Nebraska and yeah, so the coaches let me spend time at home with my family and just like do what I needed to do, which was really nice.
Was this
So I
during the
was
school year? Sorry, just for
No,
context.
so,
it
it's a
was
summer.
Summer.
it was in the
Okay.
summer. So it was,
Yeah.
and then school started at like middle of August-ish. So the coaches let me do what I needed to do at home. I spent a lot of time with my family and just literally did nothing. I didn't want to exercise. I just chilled. And then I ended up coming back to Nebraska and had some conversations with, I guess, that support team that I had. I had to get back on my nutrition. I have, this is the whole thing, but
Yeah.
sometimes
Okay, that's fine.
um, when I'm struggling mentally, it impacts my eating. So I kind of like not stopped eating, but it definitely impacted that. So that's something that I really need to work on again when I came back and just some mental health stuff
Mm-hmm.
to get back on track because I did have one more year here and I wanted to be able to also enjoy it and like for my sake, but also the sake of like my teammates because it is my last year and it's also like a lot of the girls that I came in with, it was their last year and I really just wanted to kind of just enjoy it and get the most out of it. So I had to really reframe the way that I was looking at it going into my last year. I ended up thinking of it kind of as like my victory lap because I did
I
really
love
want to
that.
quit. Like
Yeah.
that was that was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Understandably
so
so.
Hmm.
just being able to reframe it in a way of like, okay, this is the last time I'm ever going to be doing this. I want to soak in all the moments, enjoy it, just be present, spend time with my teammates, and just really leaning on them and spending time with them helped so much.
Hmm.
And once again, those resources, my coaches, and I ended up having a pretty good year, and it was probably the most fun I've ever had doing gymnastics. And I don't know if it's because I didn't have that pressure of also
Hmm.
needing to compete internationally or knowing that it was my last one, but it ended up working out. My advice, I don't even know. Probably, honestly, I think I did need to feel everything that I needed to feel because I feel like if I didn't, it would have come up at some point. But I was able to kind of deal with that, or like when it was happening and like right after. And then I was able to like move on to the next chapter and then be able to be present during that too.
Yeah. And that's so, I mean, that's so important to point out too that like that was a devastating experience. Like that was tough. And that it's okay to like feel that. Because I love the mentality that you mentioned of like your victory lap and how like literally reframing the mindset can kind of change an experience. Was there a point, because I can imagine in the beginning maybe you're kind of trying to convince yourself, of this, and then was there a point when you kind of like your mindset shifted and like you started to believe it and maybe like you mentioned it was your most fun year.
Yeah, I feel like being able to, I guess, talk to my teammates about it as well, especially because we were a class of 8 seniors,
Mm.
so it was all of our last years, and we were all like, okay, let's take advantage of this and make the most out of it. So being able to lean on each other in those moments and remind ourselves when things were tough, like this is the last time we're going to be doing this. Let's just try and make the most out of it. Even like the hard workouts, like we would just not goof around because we couldn't really do that, but like we tried just to make it more enjoyable. And then I feel like it really hit me probably halfway through season when I was like, okay, I only have like 5 competitions left of my career. And that's when I really just like let things happen. Like
Yeah.
I was just competing freely, soaking in the moments, like even just walking into the arena and just looking around, like the crowds, everything, just like soaking it all in. And I really wish I did that probably my whole career, but I just wasn't in that mindset. But that definitely helped. Like when it was like, okay, 3 more, 2 more, I was like really just soaking it all in at that point.
That's awesome. Did you find it to be like any easier given knowing that you had like your team at Nebraska to kind of lean on and like okay, I guess this it didn't work, but I got these people and I love this environment. It sounds like you had a wonderful 4 years. Like, did that help at all?
Yes, and then also having them by my side throughout that whole journey, because that was the end of my junior year. So I was going through the elite and NCAA thing for 3 years of my career at Nebraska. So the girls were, I guess, kept up to date with where I was with that and how it was going. And honestly, I was really nervous going into the Olympic stuff, and I didn't decide I wanted to really, really do it until February of 2024. because I was like, well, what if I don't make it again? What if I have to go through what I went through the first time and I'm a non-traveling alternate again? Like, I was like, I don't want to go through that. That sucks. But they helped me make that decision, and they were just like, well, whether you make it or not, like, you just know you gave it all you had and you have fun doing it. Like, you kind of rewrite the script how you want to. And like, they helped me with that mindset going into it because, yeah, I didn't want to go through that again. Just happened to have to do that again. But like, that was something that I was really nervous about, especially being part of that team that qualified. What if I qualify the team for Olympics, but I don't make it? And like, all that kind of stuff was really just like adding a lot of pressure on me, which I was kind of putting on myself. No one
Right.
was necessarily doing that, but I was like, oh, that's going to be embarrassing. Like, I qualified the team for the Olympics, but I don't go. That's what ended up happening. And now I'm like, okay, it's fine. Like, I can look back knowing that I gave it all I had, and I have no regrets with the way that I prepared and went into it. But yeah, just being able to talk through all of that with them. Like, I finished in 2024, I finished the NCAA season, which was 12 weeks of competition back to back. And then I had 2 weeks to prepare. And then I was competing in Italy and then in Paris. And then I came back to the US for 2 weeks to train. I was in Colombia for a competition, would come back. And then it was like Olympic trials. So
Crazy.
they were there through all of that. And they were definitely like a really big support for me
Hmm.
because it was so chaotic and I didn't fully know what I was doing. I was nervous of the outcome, but just knowing that they were there and kind of part of that journey with me was huge.
Is there any finance? We've had a few Olympic athletes on. Is there any like financial component to being on the Olympic team, or is it kind of just more exposure and opportunities?
I actually don't really know, but for me, like the reason I wanted to make it was just to say I did it,
Of
and
course,
just to
of
experience
course.
that and be a part of it. Like, I didn't even consider all of those other factors. Like,
Hmm.
I just wanted to be able to be a part of things and experience it because that's, I guess, the top level, like the furthest you can go in the sport.
Of course.
So being able to say that you could make it the furthest was more my goal
So they
than just
don't
like
pay
being able to
you
get a
to
medal.
be on the team or anything like that.
I actually don't fully know. I've
Okay.
never been
I'm just
asked that
curious.
question before.
We've asked each
Yeah.
like Olympic athlete this, and I'm curious. We're waiting for somebody to say yes,
Yeah, no, I
or
actually
like a
don't.
livable wage, because
Or
we spoke
some of them said they
to,
had to pay themselves, like they had to pay their own
well,
travels and
we
everything.
spoke to a rower who was Canadian, and she said that they go to like a camp for like the 4 years, but she said they paid them like $20,000, $18,000 a year. So I didn't know if you guys, and obviously you guys are a bigger sport, right?
Yeah.
So I was just curious if that was the case at all.
Yeah, I haven't heard much about being paid for going, but like if you're on the national team, you get like government funding to cover fees for like travel and competition and stuff like that. It doesn't always cover all of it, but like you do get some of that.
Got it. Interesting. Okay. Well, do
Mhm.
you have like a favorite memory from competing on the national team?
I feel like my favorite is probably that 2022 World Championships. And that the whole situation was insane because basically two of the girls were alternates. So me and one of the other girls ended up coming in as alternates because two of them weren't able to compete. So we last minute, like within the week before, got switched in. And so we were not called the A team, I guess, going into it. We were probably more the B team for Canada. And we didn't even really have that many expectations on ourselves. No one had expectations on us. We were like, okay, let's just do our best. And we ended up qualifying for the final in eighth place. So it was only top eight. So we were basically
Wow.
last going into the final. So going from that to third and making history for the country, like no one's ever been top three. So we weren't expecting us to be top three. We were like, we didn't even think we would make it to the finals. We wore our favorite leotard in the qualification because we didn't even think we'd get the chance to wear it. Like, we were so caught off
That's
guard.
so real.
It's
That's
so
so
real, yeah.
real.
Like they're having to
We
decide
didn't,
what
yeah, we're
plane.
like, if
That's
we
so
at least
pretty.
get to wear it. So we like our main thing was just enjoy the experience and do our best.
Yeah.
And we ended up being the only team that didn't fall. And that was the best thing we could have done
Yeah.
because every other team fell at least once. So we were just consistent. We weren't we weren't like the top, we weren't the best in the world, but we didn't fall. We were consistent, we were stable, and that's how we ended up coming in third. So throughout the whole meet, like we weren't even really in top three, but the last event, so many teams had falls that that's just how we finished. So it was
A win is
crazy.
a
And
win.
then
Yeah.
yeah, so it was crazy. Everyone was like crying, jumping up and down, celebrating. Then we find out we qualified for the Olympics 2 years in advance. Like there was just so much going on, and it was
Right.
all so unexpected that being part of that journey was just crazy.
Wow. That
Very
is.
cool.
And speaking of falling,
Yeah.
transitions to our next question, because we had a gymnast on a couple months ago, and we didn't really get into this, but I mean, there's such a small error, like just margin of error in gymnastics. I mean, you can get seriously hurt. I mean, is that something that you think about before you're competing or as you're competing, or is that just not in your mind?
I would say it probably depends. I don't think about it right before I compete, but sometimes, like now, if I had to think about going to do gymnastics, I've been retired for, I don't know, 5 months, 6 months. I don't know how long it's been, but the thought of going to do gymnastics is so scary. Like
Yeah.
if I had to go do stuff like now,
Yeah.
actually like looking at it and thinking about doing it, I'm like, that is so dangerous. I don't want to try that. But in the moment when it was like, it was kind of what you were doing every day, it
Your
was like,
norm.
oh, like it's fine.
Yeah.
Like muscle memory would kind of kick in and it would just happen. There'd be times where, like, you guys have probably heard of like the twisties and like
Yeah, yeah,
bad
yeah, of
stuff
course.
happening. It like, that would impact me sometimes. Like, I'd be like, no, there's no way I can get my body to do this. And then, like, I just, like, I had to take a step back and kind of figure it out. But I wouldn't
Like you
say it
guys are gonna
happened at
break your neck.
competitions. Yes. And
What do
like,
you do? Go ahead.
I've gotten hurt like so many times too.
I'm like,
And it's
no.
just like I should have stopped, but
What do you do when you, I mean, because I'm thinking about it from like, a tennis perspective. Like there'd be matches where you'd be really nervous and like maybe you wouldn't play well and you lose, but if you miss a ball, you're not,
I'm not
as you
breaking
already
my
said, breaking
arm.
your neck. And so what do you do when you're like, you have nerves and like, was there something you told yourself or how did you get past that if you did?
one thing I was known for, and this probably only started within like the last 2 years of my career, but I took the term of grounding yourself like so literally. Like I would starfish my whole body on the ground, like fully, because I'm shaking so much. I needed to get like every part of my body on the ground, and I would literally just lay there with my eyes closed, like right before competing. Um, I don't know. I think it did help. But like mentally, it's just like helped me kind of forget about what was going on, drown out the noise a little bit, and then just feel like actually grounded. So like people would take pictures of me, literally just like starfished in the middle of the floor, behind the curtains. Like that was like a thing. Like people would kind of post, and I was like, that's embarrassing. But I think that
Yeah.
helped a lot. It worked. I would say that doing that, talking to people, like talking to my coaches, talking to teammates, I would bring fidget toys with me, which is also something that I don't think many people do. But I would like play with fidget toys before going out there. I would draw or like write words on my hands, like keywords that I wanted to focus on to like bring myself back to. I tried so many different things. Listening to music sometimes helps.
Wow.
Yeah, it really depended, and I tried so many different things, but I feel like the top three that worked were probably laying on the floor, playing with fidget toys, and like the keywords.
That's great. That's
Yeah,
I can't even imagine. Like I cannot.
I
But I
know.
guess if
I mean,
it's your norm, like you've been doing it for so long, you don't really know anything different. So I can understand from that aspect, but it's like I applaud you guys.
yeah, me too.
Thanks.
I feel like she kind of answered number nine. Okay, so like you said, you're 22. You were a two-time alternate. You're on the national team, and you had an extremely decorated career, right? And you mentioned a little bit, but like, why did you actually decide to hang up and stop playing or competing and not continuing gymnastics? Was it the mental hurdle? Like, what was that for you?
I feel like it was probably a combination of everything. So I finished my career here. I didn't have any more years of eligibility. So
Hmm.
the only way that I would be continuing to compete would be representing Canada internationally. I told myself like I did think about it, but I'm like the only reason I would be doing that would be to train for the next Olympics, which is 2028. So that's still like 3 years away. And I was like, I just the sacrifice that goes into it. I didn't really know where I would go train, first of all. I didn't know where I would train. And then having to put my body through that for the next 3 years and then not to be like that, but to potentially not make it again. I was like, okay, I I could confidently say at the end of the second Olympic cycle that I went through that I gave it everything I had. As hard as it is to admit that I'm proud of myself for that, I am. It's just, it was definitely not what I was hoping for. But like the fact that I stuck with it and tried again is something that I am proud of, and I'm able to kind of leave that behind and move forward with my life,
Hmm.
especially ending on that good note here at Nebraska and being able to like kind of see it. I think being able to like knowing that it was my last year also helped with like the victory lap mindset and just like giving it everything I had. Like the last year here, I also kind of had that mindset. But yeah, I was also very injured. So my last year here, I actually was in a boot all of season and I wasn't really practicing. I had to wear a boot like at the grocery store, classes, shopping, like everywhere I was, I had a boot on my ankle and like traveling with the team, like I was just not in the best physical health, I guess.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that really had an impact on me mentally, especially because I wasn't able to practice to the, I guess, level that I wanted to and just the amount that I wanted to, which I do feel like probably impacted my performance because I wasn't the strongest on my like floor and vault events because I wasn't able to practice it very much. So that side of things was also getting kind of frustrating because it probably wasn't my best season as an all-arounder. It was definitely my best season on bars because bars I didn't need to use my
Right.
legs.
Yeah.
So there's like that balancing that as well. Like I was like, okay, I think my body's over it. I'm kind of over it. I'm ready to move on. But then I was also just like, I'm excited to figure out what's next and figure out what else I'm passionate about and excited about doing. So there were just so many different factors. Like even after my last meet of NCAA, I was like, oh yeah, I want to keep going. And then like the next day I was like, yeah, no, I'm done. Like I was like I thought about it for a day and
Yeah.
then I was like, no, like I think I'm ready to move on, especially by the time it would be 2028, I'd be like 25. Like I'm
Very
way too.
young.
Yeah.
I know it's young, but for gymnastics it's not very
No, I
young.
know, I know, I
Yeah,
know.
that makes sense.
So, yeah, like I was just like, I can't be doing that mentally, physically. I was ready to be done, and like I was happy with where I was at, especially being able to reframe and everything for that last year. I feel like if I didn't do that, it probably
Yeah.
could have been different,
Yeah.
but
That makes sense. That makes
yeah.
total
Yeah.
sense.
And just, I mean, bringing it back to the mindset, because it's just so important. Like, I mean, feeling like you gave it your all, and I mean, that's really what you want at the end of the day as an athlete, and like kind of leaving all your cards on the table. And it sounds like you did. So I think that I love that you shared just like the mindset mentality, because I think that can help athletes maybe feeling like, oh, I didn't achieve maybe everything I kind of wanted, but did you do everything you could? And that's a victory in and of
Yeah. Or
itself.
juniors going into senior year and starting
Yeah,
senior year now and being like, okay, it's my last chance. Like, let's have a
yeah,
positive outlook on it and throw the
enjoy
ego
it.
out the window and let's enjoy, kind of,
Mm,
you know?
Yeah, and there were so many things I couldn't control, like my physical health,
mhm.
like all of that. I was like, hey, this is annoying. Like I can't maximize my performance like to the way that I wanted to, but I also I think maybe because of that is also why I ended up having such a good time with my teammates. I was able to be more present and like because of those things as well. So at the end of the day, I think it all worked out how it needed to, and I just
Absolutely.
had to stop feeling like I had to control everything because I realized like I can't.
Yeah.
Preach.
So true. So a topic that a lot of college athletes struggle with after graduating, and honestly, really while competing too, is just body image. So as a gymnast, what was your relationship with body image, and then has that changed like, since you've retired?
Yeah, so that was definitely an issue for me. But I wouldn't necessarily say that it was like self-inflicted. I would bring it back to that toxic
Yep.
culture of gymnastics
Yep.
and the ideal body type and the way that the coaches would present that to us. I had a very strict coach when it came to that kind of stuff, really monitoring what I was eating, what I wasn't allowed to eat, restricting, weighing, all that kind of stuff, which really impacted the way that I saw myself. And also, like, when you have someone telling you that, like, you're fat, you can't eat that, weighing you at like 12, 13 years old, like, that's still something that I'd say I struggle with to this day, even if I don't fully realize it. So then I would, well, yeah, I did have an eating disorder when I think I was probably like 16 was when I was like actually like diagnosed with that, but I definitely had issues like leading up to like when I finally got that help for it.
Hmm.
And it was just because of that environment that I was in and like being told for years, like, you can't eat this, don't do that. There were just times where like, yeah, you're too heavy to practice, go run. Like all these kind of things that like being told for years, like really just like completely
Especially,
changed the way that I saw that and like what
and
I
at that
thought was
age,
right.
it's
Yes.
very
Yes.
developmental time.
Exactly. And like my body was going through all these changes and like I was almost getting in trouble for that because then my weight would go up, but it's like I'm trying my best here, you know?
You can't control
So,
that, back to what you were saying before,
Yeah.
right?
exactly. So going
Okay.
through that was definitely difficult. And then I feel like now I do a lot better job. Even my like being in Nebraska, I was very upfront and honest with the nutritionist here and they were really helpful making sure that I was fueling myself properly, getting all of that stuff that I needed in. But I would say that like I kind of mentioned earlier, when I'm struggling or like mentally not doing the best, I
Right.
fall back to those patterns. So like last summer, for example, I kind of just stopped eating, not even on purpose, but I was mentally just so drained and done that like that was like my body's automatic response to that without even really realizing it until it was like months later. I come back to Nebraska and I told the nutritionist, I was like, hey, I kind of stopped eating for a little bit. I didn't mean to. And she's like, that's okay. We'll get you back on track. She's like, yeah, like she weighed me. She's like, yeah, you lost 20 pounds. I was like, I lost 20 pounds. Like, and that was not even on purpose. That was not like something that I tried to do. Like, I think that just like falling back into those old patterns when I feel like I'm struggling, that's like still kind of there. But like we worked through it, we got that back, we figured it out by the time season started. But I would say that it still impacts me in some ways like that. Like when I'm struggling mentally, that's when like the eating habits kind of fall back to like those patterns I learned when I was younger. And it's been very interesting learning like now being retired, fueling myself not necessarily for performance, but
Yep.
just to be healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say I'm probably handling that better than I thought I would. Like I'm definitely able to eat like 3 meals a day, getting all that stuff in, which is good. So I
Hmm.
don't know. It's hard to say. It definitely really impacted me when I was younger, but I do think it's because of that environment that I was in,
It
and I
sounds like
don't know if it
you're
would have happened if it wasn't.
right. It sounds like I feel like the moral of this episode is you being honest and upfront with, you know, your coaches and the people who are there to help you. And I think that's really difficult to do sometimes. And so I just like applaud you and commend you for being open and honest, with them because it can be difficult, like, hey, I'm going coming onto campus as a freshman and I don't really like competing. Like I don't even want to be here really. And
Yeah.
then hey, by the way, I also have this and like I lost 20 pounds because I didn't eat, like being upfront and honest and I just want to say like applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't something that necessarily came right away either. Like I definitely like if you asked me like a couple years ago, I probably would have just straight up said that. But now it's like I kind of learned that like by
Yeah.
doing that, it helps me kind of just like move on from it. But then I feel like it also helps other people going through it too.
Yeah. Do you
So
have any
other
advice
people usually are
for
from like an
no.
eating side of things
Yeah, like
or
body
just in
image,
general.
and as female athletes, I feel like every freaking female athlete has some type of body dysmorphia, no matter what sport you
Yes.
play.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And if you have none,
I
that's
like
fine
to,
too.
yeah, no, I like to use my platform like on social media and stuff to bring awareness to that
Yeah.
as well. So I think it is an important topic and not many people talk about it, which is also kind of why I'm like, I mean, I'll
Yes.
say it.
Yeah.
Like other people relate to it. I know they
Yeah.
do because I used to be the one that wouldn't say it
Yeah.
and like would relate to the people that would. I feel like the biggest thing is like asking for help if you think you need help. I didn't do that at first either, but once I did get the help and just like not even necessarily help, but just have those conversations with people that were able to support me through those tough times was really helpful. And then just like it's very hard, especially in the situation that I was in growing up, like trying not to listen to what other people say about your body necessarily, but like in just being a female athlete, that's very difficult because a lot of people tend to lean on those type of comments or like whether it's in the media,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. So
And then you're so conditioned
probably
to
just
hearing it, and then you start to think it too.
yes, yes,
Oh,
exactly.
it's good advice.
Yeah.
So, what are you up to now?
I'm trying to figure it out. So, okay, I'm working here in Nebraska. My title is a digital account executive
Okay.
for a digital marketing company, which has actually been interesting. I've liked it. I've been doing it for probably 2 months now.
Okay, awesome.
And I'm also doing my master's in counseling on the side, slash
Super
not
cool.
really on the side,
Yeah.
but like when I'm
When you
not
can.
working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, so I
awesome.
started
Cool.
that about a week ago. So that's like a 2 year
Yeah.
program. And then I'm not fully sure what I want to do with that, but I'm thinking going into sports psych or something like that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Especially like
Yeah.
I grew up going to counselors and sports psychologists and doing all that kind of stuff through sport. I feel like I really understand what that's like.
I love
And I
it.
think it would just be really cool. Even like if it's not directly that, but something in that side of things. But yeah, right now I'm working in digital marketing sales and I'm here for 9 more months ish.
And then you'll
That's
figure
And
out
then I
amazing.
from
have
there.
no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love it.
Yeah. So then, what are you looking forward to most now that you're done competing?
I think, and I'm still kind of working on this, but just figuring out like a schedule and a lifestyle that I want, if that makes sense. I feel like my whole career and the whole like school side of things just I was just constantly being told what I had to do. So now I have that control to kind of structure my day to day and like weeks and everything just around like what I want and how I
Hmm.
want it to be like. So kind of taking advantage of that and like creating this vision and lifestyle that I want without anyone really telling me you have to do it this way, you have to do it by this time. I mean, like I have deadlines like for work in my master's, but it's a lot less intense, I guess, than it was being like a full-time athlete and like full-time student, like all that
Totally.
kind of stuff. So just figuring out that balance and how to make it work. But it's fun. It's exciting.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Enjoy it. And
Yeah.
then to kind of wrap up, I know you just finished competing and you're starting that transition to life beyond sports, but if you could describe it so far in one word, what would it be?
Entertaining.
You're the first, I think you're the first person to give us a one word answer.
Yeah. Usually, like, can I do 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Entertaining. That's a good one. I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been something, but it's fun
Yeah.
most of the time.
True.
Is it a good entertaining? Like, what is,
She's like, I don't know.
expand on that. Yeah, expand on your one word.
Probably more of like a chaotic entertaining. So
That's the
like
best entertainment.
it can be seen as good or bad, depends on the mindset
No, I
and
think
depends on
that's
the day.
amazing. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
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 She doesn't need to describe it. That wasn't the question,
No,
Sarah.
you're right. You're right. I'm adding more. But you know what? And she said mindset, and that I think is also another
This
key
is
in this
true.
episode that you have talked about
True.
is the power of mindset.
Yes.
True.
Well, Emma, thank you so much for coming on and chatting. We
Thank you.
are very grateful and happy you decided to come on and share a little bit about your story.
Of course. Thanks for chatting with me,
Of
guys.
course.